And a little secret that most associates don't know, firms tend to lose money on you the first couple of years. That's what that's going to be. That's what it looks like. And I always say this, and I've said it in some of my videos, the law happens in your inbox. Before I answer that question, I will say, right? So I'm going into my 5th year. I know 6th, 7th, and 8th year associates that have never taken a deposition. I am the deposition outline. I am the words, like all this crazy stuff, because it's like game day, like you think about the added pressure of you're in the room where you're the youngest person, and this case is worth $56 million. Let me say that back one more time. Don't pre-discount the discount your partners are giving to the clients by cutting your own bills before they get cut. All right, welcome to the Bar None podcast, the podcast that cuts through the casebook and classroom chatter to bring you real talk about law school and the legal world and beyond. My name is Ted Dalcima, your co-host, and as always, I'm joined by the main man here, Adan Adorniez. And each week, we're going to sit down with professors, we're going to sit down with partners, lawyers, law school insiders to really break down what actually matters. No fluff, no filters, no BS. And whether you're a 1L, a rising associate, or just law curious, this is the space where honesty meets the law. And this episode, we're going to kind of change it up a little bit. I'm calling this episode Adan First Day Out. And that's a big shout out to one of my favorite gym songs by T Grizzly. If you haven't heard it, it's called First Day Out. And this is going to be a switch up this week for this episode. And we're just going to talk a little bit about, I don't know, Adan, surprise our guests. What are we talking about today?
We're gonna talk about you, Ted. We're gonna talk about you. We're gonna flip this. We're gonna flip the script. We're gonna turn the tables, and you're gonna be on the hot seat today.
I'm
So
always in the hot seat, especially when you get to the point where you're leading some of your cases. So I think I'm a little bit comfortable. I'm excited. This week is going to give a lot of our listeners some context as to what to expect. Right now, I'm entering my, 5th year of practice, and we decided to do this episode because we actually had some of our listeners. They reached out. They're like, hey, I'm waiting for my bar results. We're in September. They get their bar results in a couple of weeks. And they're like, what should I expect? I don't know. I'm going to be a first year associate. I'm going to be in transaction. I'm going to be in litigation. What should I expect? So Adan's like, Ted, I think you should talk about it. And he gave me night sweats and flashbacks. And here we are. So what do you want to know, Adan?
Ted, man, I bar results. I'm so far from that. Still, at least a year away. Hopefully. Um, I'm just not. I'm just curious, man. Like, what do you do as a first year lawyer? Like, what do you just go and you have, like a summary motion for summary judgment due in 12 days? Does you just jump into that, or like what happens? Like, you get your bar results back and
Well,
and that's it?
I think that's going to kick us off. The one thing you should know is if you're already employed, you're most likely either already working and awaiting your bar results, especially if you're in big law. I remember when I took the bar, it was around September. I was waiting for my scores, and it was the day. I think it was like September 22nd, 23rd, one of those days. And I was in my office. I was in my office fully suited up, attempting to work. But I was just like, oh my God, Adan. Like, pardon my language, but like if this score comes out and I didn't pass the bar, do I just pack my stuff and I'm fired? What happens? So the first thing you should know, most of our listeners, if you are awaiting your bar results, you're probably awaiting them from the comforts of your new job. You're probably at work. You're probably nervous, or to answer your question, what should you expect? As our listeners know, I do litigation, so I do commercial complex litigation, do a little bit of white collar criminal defense, insurance defense, and just really, if our clients are getting sued, we're handling it in a wide range of capacities. So I'm going to speak on behalf of what does a litigation associate attorney does, first year out. So it looks different, right? So you mentioned, well, am I writing a motion? Not necessarily. Your first year, and a little secret that most associates don't know, firms tend to lose money on you the first couple of years. When you right out of law school and you're just starting, they know they're going to lose money on you. So remove that pressure out of your mind. Just focus on creating like great work product, disciplining yourself and forming great habits like submitting your billing and your time daily. I know a lot of people do it weekly, some people do it monthly, crazy, but forming those good habits. So for me, my first year, it varied. And I would do a bunch of different things. It was from researching cases, writing pleadings. My first year, the partner was like, "Hey, Ted, we have a hearing. I can't attend. You know the case. Attend the hearing and let the judge know we want a continuance or we want, to set a new date or something like that." And as a first year, you think it's so big, right? You think, Adon, everything is so big. You're like, "Oh my God, this is my first hearing." Huh. And you start over preparing, overdoing these things.
You're making me nervous right now. Telling me the story, I'm like looking ahead. I'm like, wait, like, how do you do that?
No, but it's good. It's good practice your first year. And I'll caveat everything I say. It really depends on who you work for, honestly. Depends on your team. It depends on the relationship you've built, right? They're like, well, Ted, how do I build a relationship? I just started. Well, it happens, right? And there are some of the kooky partners that are like, nah, I used to watch the paper chase. I know, I've seen my cousin Vinny. I have to throw them in the fire. That's how I learned. That's how my mentor learned. You got this here and good luck. It really depends. But while I say as a first year associate, there's going to be a wide breadth of things you do, especially in the litigation field. You might actually go to court. You might actually sit in on cases. You might actually meet the client. You might sit in on deposition preps. You might be drafting substantive pleadings. And of course, right, you might be researching and writing. And that's the baseline. Whether you're in transactional or litigation, your first year as an associate, plan to actually research or write something. That's what that's going to be. That's what it looks like. And I always say this, and I've said it in some of my videos, the law happens in your inbox. The law happens in your inbox. So whether you're sending an email to a partner, you're sending an email to opposing counsel, you're sending an email to a client, you're going to be doing some form of reading or writing your first year done.
How, like, could you give us a almost like a day in the life view of that first year? Like, do you just go in? Is it similar to like writing a Alcom paper where you on, Westlaw or Lexis and then looking at cases and then writing down how they apply to your case, or like how does that work?
Well, the day in the life of, a first year associate, it's the same with nuances, if that makes sense, right? So within the first year, you're going to come into work, right? You're going to be like most people, you're going to be like, I need to let the partners, all the decision makers know I'm serious. I'm a lawyer, I got my JD and I need to show them that their investment in me is worth it. So you're going to show up, either come early, stay later, but you're gonna get like antsy. You're gonna be like, I need to be on everything. I need to get as much work as possible. And sometimes that's good, but also most times it's a mistake. So the day in the life, I would say, is for me and from what I've seen from my peers and my friends when we went through our first year, because they're gonna be your biggest resource. Like you're gonna be like, Adon, you're gonna hit up one of the people in your old section, like, hey, bro, how was your first day? What are you working on? What are you doing? And you're going to realize the common nucleus, the common thread of it all is that you all don't really know what you're doing, but you all want to be helpful and you're showing up every day. So the day in the life of first year associate really depends. It really depends on the team you're on. And I'll give you an example. If you're on a litigation team, that day might be like, hey, like we're writing this motion. I need your help. We're writing this summary judgment. We're writing this brief. I need you to research this section and give me a preliminary draft of your argument. And then you do that, and then it builds. And then they're like, hey, Ted, we really like what you did on this draft. We're actually, moving through the process. We're going to depose some individuals, help us draft a deposition outline. Then you do that, then it builds. And they're like, hey, we're deposing John Doe. Can you come sit in and, take notes? And, or some partners, like my first year, right? My first year, I sat in on a lot of depositions. I love deposition prep. So I sat in, and then during breaks, the partner would ask me, Ted, anything you think we should ask or we should know? And I would be like, wow, okay, yeah. I was like, I would love for us to ask this question or that question. So the day in the life of a, first year associate really depends on who you're working with, how hungry you are, and just your willingness to be a team player. But to siphon it off, right? For all our listeners, you're like, man, Ted, you've said a lot, but nothing at the same time. I don't know what to expect. You said a whole lot but not a lot. Uh, it's because it varies, and it's different for everybody, and different personalities. I'm more outgoing. I'm out there. Like I'll ask for the work. I don't mind staying late. That's just me. That's my personality. But if you're a little more reserved, then you're like, hey, I'm in litigation. I'm a little shy. I'm worried about my work. That might be different. It might be a slower progress. It might be a slower transition. It might be a point where you're like, oh yeah, I'm getting to help with deposition prep, but I'm doing it at my pace. So the day in the life really depends, but just know you're going to show up to work, especially your first year. You're going to write, you're going to do a lot of reading. So good luck if you enjoy reading for leisure. Good luck reading, the latest books after that, because on average, Don, I was reading, I don't know, 50, 60 pages a day,
Yeah.
legal reading. And it's that's how it is, that's how it is, but it is fun. But your first year, it's a little, they know they're losing, the firms know they're losing money on you. So they're definitely more lenient. And you should, as our listeners, you should know, remove some of that pressure on you. They want you to learn, they want you to build great habits. There's no pressure. And they won't tell you this, but most of the time they're writing off some of your time because, like you're learning, they understand all of that. And then, right, there's the fun component because you're first year associate. There's going to be a lot of, it's like a new destination, a new toy, new person, a new energy. They're like, we need to do happy hours. We need to do dinners. We need to do events. We need to do all these things. So your first year is going to be a culmination of, yeah, I have to work. I'm reading, I'm writing, I'm drafting, I'm editing, I'm conversing, and I'm growing, but also like I'm building relationships because, these firms, they hire you not for, quick churn and burn. They hire you because they want the longevity. So they're going to invest in you and try to deepen that relationship.
Ted, I gotta ask because I'm curious. What was your first deposition like that you ran? Like not sitting in, not listening, the partner asking you what happened after, but like
Oh
you're
man.
taking down names, you're taking down questions. Like I think about it from my perspective, and it makes me a little nervous. And you're a cool cat. Like how did it go?
Well, thank you for the compliments. Although my doctor would say I'm allergic to cats, I don't believe him. But I appreciate it nonetheless. Well, before I answer that question, I will say, right? So I'm going into my fifth year. I know sixth, seventh, and eighth year associates that have never taken a deposition. So that is not very, that is rare, and that it doesn't happen often. Um, so I was in a unique position because I was able to gain a level of mastery on the case and comfort. And the partners trusted me enough and said, you know what, Ted, we know that our client's being sued for $56 million. Dollars. You know this case. This is going to be a fact deposition. Create the outline. And I did. I created a 20 plus page outline. There was 18 exhibits. It was very involved. And they're like, wow, this is like really good. You should do it. I was like, huh? Pardon? What? Excuse me? I was like, what? They're like, yeah, you should fly to Texas and do this deposition on your own. We believe in you. We love you. Get with your assistant, book your flight. Bye. So that's how it happened. So the first part is, right, being in the right place, right time, being prepared, and really delving yourself into the case. But how it went, I was nervous, dude. I mean, Adon, you played sports, right? Think about it. I think about a deposition as like the game, right? And then the night before, like you may be nervous. You're like listening to Les Brown motivational speeches. You're working out. You're reviewing your exhibits. You're asking questions. You're putting yourself there. And if the deposition's happening at your law firm, maybe you go there the day before and you look at the room. All these things I did. It was my first deposition. I had to pop my deposition cherry. So I went to Texas. Uh, I got to the law firm there the day before. I walked the deposition room. I knew where the bathrooms were. I knew who reception was. I knew everything. I already had the exhibits pre-printed. And one thing I did, and to all our listeners, if it's your first deposition, right, and it might not be conducive to doing for all, one thing I did that really made me comfortable, because I truly believe, Adon, what nerves or lack of confidence is just ignorance, right? So if you know the material, there's nothing to really be nervous about. So what I did
Right.
to really solidify the material, imagine a 20-page deposition outline. The night before, I sat at my hotel restaurant. We might have to bleep this out. I ordered a martini and I hand wrote all of my deposition questions in a legal pad. 20 pages typed, and I wrote it in over like 30 pages on a legal pad. And that's what I used at my deposition. And it made me so much comfortable because even before I got started, I knew what the next question was, right? It's that old adage, like if you want to retain something, you now, right? You type it. But if you want to learn and memorize it, you reduce it to writing. And that's one tip I
Right.
want to leave with our viewers, especially those that may have not taken the deposition before or feeling nervous. Do that little step. It made me so much comfortable. I had a great time. And till this day, Adon, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. It's a very litigious case and it's ongoing right now. Spoiler alert. But that deposition, my first deposition lasted roughly 7 hours on the record, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And it, it
That's quite a
and,
while.
and I was the youngest person in the room. I was deposing a senior individual, well in his 50s, defended by another large major law firm, AM 100 law firm, AM 50 law firm, AM 25 law firm. And the partner there was well over their 50s, and I was the youngest guy in there in a blue suit. And I deposed this guy for 7 hours. We got so many great testimonial evidence that really helped our case and our subsequent motions. And after the deposition, the witness came up to me and said, "Hey, I know this might be weird, but you did a really great job." And to this day, I'm gonna leave it to
That
you.
had to feel, yeah, that had to feel good.
I don't know. That's to my listeners. Maybe leave a comment, send me an email. Let me know, what do you think. What does it mean when someone you're deposing tells you after the deposition you did a really good job? I knew in my heart I did a great job. I mean, I had him in a corner. I had him caught in like misstatements. I had the witness like not only confused about the things he previously admitted. I had him make seriously detrimental admissions. And then he said that, and till this day, Don, I don't know how to take it. The opponent told you did a great job after a 7 hour deposition.
I think I mean, he probably knew that you're young and that it was one of your first. I guess I would take it in a, like in a good
You
way.
would? All right. Well,
Yeah,
since then, to all our
especially
viewers,
you
I,
probably saw the mom spaghetti before you started.
that was
You sweat,
listen.
hands sweaty.
It was I'm Adon. I was listening to Eminem. I was listening to Lil Wayne. All this hype gym music. I had Les Brown. Like you gotta believe it if you can achieve it. All these motivational stuff. I'm in my boxers in the hotel. Like yeah, I am the deposition outline. I am the words. Like like all this crazy stuff because it's like game day. Like you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about the added pressure of you're in the room where you're the youngest person, you're the most junior person, You're deposing someone that could be like your dad, and this case is worth $56 million. And you're just
Yeah, that's
like,
gotta be a nerve. That's pretty nerve-wracking.
yeah.
I
Well, spoiler alert, I guess I did do such a great job. I ended up doing that same year, seven more fact deposition, five expert deposition, and three corporate depositions, and ended up defending over 15 depositions. So I guess I did well that the client liked it and everybody liked it. So my advice to you, believe in yourself. Your first year, you're gonna get certain opportunities that may make you uncomfortable, but dwell and thrive in that uncomfortability, because that could catapult you and set you up in a position that you're viewed differently by your peers, and you're viewed differently by the partners, and most importantly, the clients.
That's pretty good, Ted. I mean, I think for people that are in law school, including myself, well, that's how you get your velvet voice. I must say, that's how you get the velvet voice. You got a couple of depositions under your belt, so you know how to talk. But for somebody that's still in school, it just seems so foreign because even like what you do in school, school is still like quite litigation focused, like
Mhm.
the assignments, but it's nothing like actual practice, like it is. School is very much like trial period. Like it's there's a lot at stake, but it's not like real world, you know, like you're not 25, 26 deposing, like an executive for Fortune 500 company. So it's yeah, that's pretty tough. I'm trying to even just like wrap my head around it. But I wanna switch directions a little bit, and I wanna do a little bit of a quick, just like some quick hitters,
Okay, go.
for like little things that I'm curious about. So you mentioned billing earlier.
Yeah.
Can you debunk billing? How does it work? Like, do you guys always use like billable? Is it always billable hours? Do you guys do it flat fees at all? Contingency? Like,
So,
how does that work?
great question. So, billing depends on the nature of the case. So certain cases you can't do on contingency fee. Certain cases you want to do on contingency fee. But for the most part, and I think most of our listeners, including yourself, Don, they're gonna be on a, hourly billable rate. And if you're going into big law, and most big law firms are defense firms, it's gonna be, like an hourly billable rate. So billing, right? There's two schools of thoughts. Most people, they're like, I love billable hours. And other people are like, I hate it. It is a fugazi. It is fake. I've been in my computer for like 10 hours. I've been at the office for 10 hours and I've only billed five. So at the most basic level, the only thing that matters to the firm, the partners, and the only thing that should matter to you as an associate, especially a first year associate, is how many hours you can tie to a specific client. That's what billing is, right? Billable hours is how many hours can Ted say today I've worked and a client has to pay for. Not
Okay.
not how many hours Ted was in the office, because Ted gets to the office at 8 and leaves at 6, but then you check and you're like, oh, Ted only billed 6 billable hours. Well, what was he doing? I guess he only worked 6 hours. That's not true. Let's say I had administrative things. Let's say I had, associate monthly meeting. Let's say I had, like a firm birthday party at lunch, or a firm event, or a fundraiser. Those are all hours I've worked within the practice of the law, but I can't tie that to a client. I can't tell a client, hey, it was Jackie's birthday and we had cake at lunch for 30 minutes. So I'm going to bill you a point 0.5 for that. Jackie says, thank you. Like you can't do that. So billing is how many hours you could tie to a specific client. And as a first year associate, it's going to be challenging because you're going to be nervous, especially when you're working on a new matter. You're going to be like, oh my God, oh shit, shit, shit. I cannot believe I just billed 3 hours to just read this document. Like, can I even read? Am I dumb or what's going on? I'm going to debunk this right now. Like I said earlier on our podcast, they're going to cut your hours to a certain degree anyway. So don't pre-discount the discount the partners are giving the clients. Let me say that back one more time. Don't pre-discount the discount your partners are giving to the clients by cutting your own bills before they get cut. What that means is if an assignment takes you 3 hours, bill the full 3 hours. Like I said, most firms expect to lose money on you the first year because they know you're learning. So yeah, it's going to take you 3-4 hours to, draft this 3-page pleading. Sure. But you're learning. You haven't, it's like muscle memory, right? Right, Adon? Like you played baseball, right?
Yeah.
Like you know how to throw the ball a certain way and you know how to connect your teammate's glove. You know how to get it right there every time. But it's not like, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to play baseball now and I could easily do this. It was with repetition. It was with time and it's become second nature. Now in my, you know, going in my fifth year, that same document, when in my first year, that would have taken me 3 hours, takes me, 30 minutes an hour because I know it's important. I've done it 1,000
Right.
times, like, so it's different. So billing is important. Don't sweat it. Billing's not a bad thing. And I'm going to debunk that right then and there.
Those are good clips right there. I think like as at least myself this summer when I had my summer internship, the first assignment that I was given was like a 120-page contract. And the partner that assigned it to me, she was like, "All right, just like, read this, look it over and like she gave me some notes to look at and I can't really figure out the case, but it was a 120-page contract. She said, read it. I was like, wow, it's gonna take me a while, and it took me about 2 days to finish.
Yep.
Like literally, I spent the whole day reading, and it took me 2 days. And at the end, I was like, wow, like I feel like this took way longer than it should have, but I went back to her, I billed my hours. She's like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, like I know it's gonna take you a while, and it kind of made me feel better about it. But I could definitely imagine, you come in and you have all these different tasks and assignments that you're given, and you feel like you're taking a lot longer, or you just feel weird. You never build. I never build by the hour before.
Yeah.
I've never kept track of my hours, and so I think like for me at least, like it was like you're
Shocking.
trying to balance like actually doing the work well and making sure that you're keeping track of your time. I don't know. It's definitely an art. I know there's some firms that are moving away from billable hour, especially with AI coming in and doing a lot of work a lot quicker. But I think it is still important for up and coming lawyers to know, like you said, most of the big law firms, like they're in defense, they're billing hourly, they're billing to big corporations, so
Yeah.
it makes sense to do it that way. But yeah, definitely that's some good information for myself, and and I'm
Yeah,
sure others
and
too.
it's okay. It's okay, Adon, honestly. And to some of our listeners that are going to, big, medium law firms, they're gonna tell you what your hourly rate is, and that adds an additional pressure. They're gonna be like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're gonna be billing at 600, $700 an hour," and you're gonna be like, "This took me 15 hours." And you start stressing about it, and you start freaking out, and you gotta understand. Your job, your first year, is to be the best possible associate you can be and build great, 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 great routines, great principles, learning how to bill on time every time, learning how to research and write, learning how to just communicate with the client, the partners, learning how to be succinct, all these things. That's what they're focused on. There's a whole billing department. Each firm has one. Don't worry about that. And half the time, the partner won't even come back to you. You'll never know the partner cut your hours. You never know there's an issue with the hours, nothing like that. The only time they might come back to you is with billing, right? When you bill, you have to write a little description of what you did. So the client's like, oh, okay, what did you do? Why did you bill me 3 hours? What little tip to all our listeners and viewers, what's up to the interwebs? Little tip, be as detailed as possible so that you put not only the partners on notice, but you put the client on notice. The only time I would say in my first year, well, it didn't really happen in my first year. I think around my second or third year, when I got so comfortable, I started getting so short in my billing. And the partner was like, Ted, you built this client 5 hours for this. He's like, I need you to put more meat on this bone. So that's the only time they'll really get at you. But aside from that, just focus on, building good habits, good principles, and just be well your first year, and all the rest is noise.
Got it. Ted, I want to ask you too. No, I'm getting to ask all the questions today,
Hey,
so it's a
you
good,
got
I'm
limited time with
learning.
me because I actually gotta get back to Bill.
So time wise, I think every time I ask, a lawyer, like how time intensive that first year, even just like work as a lawyer is, at these firms, like how time consuming was it? Like were you working, till 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. every day? Like did you have time? I think that's something that everybody wonders, and even people that work hard, they in the back of their mind they're like, all right, like how much of my time is this gonna take up? Lawyer like being a lawyer is famously known for long hours
Yeah.
and a lot of work, but
Yeah.
how do you see it from your perspective?
From my perspective is, if you remember, everybody has 24 hours in the day, right? Nobody has more, no one has less. It's not like a dawn, right? Like you could go into a magic box and be like, well, everybody's sleeping, and you pull out an extra 2 hours for yourself. Everybody has the same amount of time. And all it boils down to our listeners right now, is time management. My first year, I billed 2,000 hours, right? And that's a 40 plus work week. Let's call it 50 hours a week, right? Eight and a half, 9 hours a day. Sometimes, give or take, ebbs and flows, right? Some people might say, well, that's 10 hours a day. It ebbs and flows. Some days are busier than
Right.
others. But I did that while still traveling. Like for me, it's like things that are important for me is I want to check out one or two new countries every year. So I still traveled. I still got to spend time with my family, my loved ones, still got to date, all these things. I still got to try new foods. I'm in Miami, so, got to pop out for Art Basel, got to pop out, for Halloween, happy hours and things like that. So your first year, it's all about time management, right? If you have an assignment due, right? And you got to build yourself lead time. And what I always tell people is Instagram's not real. So if you're looking at my Instagram, you're like, man, Ted's always out. What you don't see is the Saturdays or the Sundays where I put in 2, 3 hours extra to set myself up for my week. But I don't do that every weekend. And I never did. My first year, it's not like I worked every weekend. I worked Monday to Friday. And on Fridays, it's a little slower. I would leave at 3, 4. But I'm always made sure that I got my hours done. I always made sure that I submit my assignments on time, and I put good quality work. So if you struggle with time management, it's gonna be hard for you. Whether you're first year, second year, third, it's just gonna be hard for you. But the hours your first year, I've seen it all, man. I have friends at small boutique shops, medium law firms, and big law, right? The big boys, the top five, top 10.
Mm.
And most of the time I was out drinking with them or having dinner with them. It's all about balance. And it's all about knowing your workload, your capacity, and who you work for. So it can be done. That is also debunked. Like you're not going to be, it's not going to be a sweatshop. It's not. It's not anymore because a lot of law firms realize now, like people like work life balance. I know, crazy concept. Whoa. Yeah, whoa, what? What's this new thing came out called work life balance? Law firms get that, and now you're seeing that trickle down to the partners, where the partners are like, "Hey, you've been working hard. Like here's some heat tickets. That happened to me. Here's some heat tickets.
Mm.
Go enjoy. Here's some a food what's it called, gift card, things like
Mm.
that, or take some time off, or like when you do have time off, for example, like I said, I'm going to Japan tomorrow, and my partner, someone asked me for an assignment, and my partner just replied today, well, Ted's gonna be in Japan tomorrow, so let's figure this out. Like they're learning to respect that, and that's been debunked a while now. So if you're worried as a first year you're not going to have work-life balance, you are. Just focus on your time management and do the little things to put yourself ahead. Never get caught on the back end of a deadline. And that's what creates the stress. That's what makes you feel like, oh, I've been working nonstop. No, just stay ahead of it. And can we agree, right? I mean, if we're gonna do brunch, let's say we're doing brunch on Saturday or Sunday, brunch don't start till 11, till 12, till 1. You telling me
Right.
you can't do 2 hours of work to set you up before brunch, before the turn up? Come on, man. You know what I'm saying, Adon?
Yeah. No, I mean that starts with school, honestly. That starts with law school. It's similar to how law school is. Like when you get stressed, people cramming for exams is because they didn't do anything the rest of the semester. So
Great
I think
analogy.
that's like a good place to, start those habits. But I mean that's good. I think being a lawyer sometimes gets a bad rap because, that people do label it, like a sweatshop. A lot of firms now, and a lot of legal jobs, they have a lot of like remote options or hybrid
Mhm.
options, and so I think that creates a little bit more balance between, you don't have to drive to the office every day and sit in traffic or, shake hands and kiss babies. So I think, I mean, from my experience, well, my experience as a summer associate, which is completely different from the actual work, or so I hear.
We gotta do a
Uh,
whole podcast on what the summer associate is. It is the dog and pony show for you guys. But go ahead. Sorry.
it was fun. Yeah, I mean, it's good, but it's good to hear that when you get into the real world and you're a real lawyer, then you still, if you do it right, you can have a productive career and you can have a productive life as well. You can play.
It's all about balance, man. It's all about balance. So Don, I'm gonna let you, give me one more question so I get back to the billable hours. I have a motion in front of me. Yes, I know. I said we don't work till 7, 8 o'clock, but I'm trying to set myself up, like I said, because I'm traveling for a good week. So that's why I'm working a little bit extra now so I could turn up while I'm in Japan later.
Big question of the day. Big question of the day. What is your favorite thing to do as a lawyer? Like, what is it? Just like saying like, "Hey, I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. I'm a juris doctor," or like, what do you really enjoy the most about it?
You'll start realizing that the longer you practice, the less you let people know you're an attorney. And that's for several reasons. One, you're tired of giving free legal advice. Two, you just want people to just have their guard down. Because for some strange reason, when people find out I'm an attorney, they're just like, oh, yeah, be careful what we see around him. I'm like, well, I don't represent you, so I don't get, like there's so many nuances. But I would say my favorite thing about this second career of mine, this law practice, is just every year I notice my brain and my level of thinking is different. Like, I don't know, like, and I really relish that. I love that because I start seeing what people are saying and I start realizing words have so much value and people
Mhm.
often do not say what they mean or mean what they say. And I love that. It's created such a strong sense of awareness in me. That's both a good and bad thing because sometimes I forget, you know what, not everybody's had the training we've had or the rigorous mental gymnastics we've had to go through to solve whether or not there's a legal issue here and what that legal issue could be and the defenses to that legal issue, or whether or not, Spirit Airlines can merge with JetBlue and what are some of the laws and the international issues. Like, I have to realize not everybody's gone through that, but I also appreciate the fact that I have gone through it because I see the world in such a vibrant and just new lens because of my way of thinking. And I'm like, wow, people just really say whatever they want and do whatever they want, not realizing the true repercussions of their actions and their words. And I'm truly appreciative of that level of awareness that I've gained and continue to gain as I practice the law. Great question.
Ladies and gentlemen, drops of gold from Ted Del Sima. You gotta let me have the mic more often, man.
Oh
I
man.
think
Like,
I think we do something special when I'm on the other side.
well, Adon, you got your hands full. Before we sign this one off, I definitely want to, shameless plug, say shout out to Law Bandit, shout out to some of our partners at FIU, NSU, and where else, Adon? Where are they at in Chicago? What are they doing?
Well, we're at U Chicago. We're at Miami now. We're getting a lot of traction with the app, man. We did the relaunch 2 weeks ago for the fall semester. We've gotten around 250 people actively using the app, so it's been a success. We're trying to get more feedback to keep improving the app. So, like Ted said, shameless plug. If you're a law student, you need a better way to take notes, try lawbandit.com. Again, that's lawbandit.com.
Yeah. Well, guys, we'll see you guys at the next episode. Nothing but love. Keep your questions coming. We'll do episodes like this more often, and they're based on your questions. We got a question from one of our users, like, hey, I was using the app. Um, I'm going to graduate soon. Like, what should I expect? So, thank you. Thank you all. Adon, thank you. Love you, brother. And yeah.
Thanks, Ted. Well, I'm Adon with Ted Del Sema, and this is the Bar None podcast. See you next time.